Hey friends, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 29 years old and I'm a nurse in Denver, Colorado. 6 months ago, my 4-year-old son was diagnosed with a rare heart condition that required emergency surgery costing $75,000. My parents refused to help. The same parents who'd just spent $270,000 on my sister's fairy tale wedding 3 months earlier. They said I should have planned better and that their money was tied up. When I reminded them about the wedding, my mother said, "That was different." But when my son's surgery was successful and they found out how I paid for it, the guilt destroyed them. What happened next will leave you speechless. Stay until the end to see how karma came for them. And if you believe parents should love their children equally, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments what you would have done in my situation. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late September when my world collapsed. I was at Denver Children's Hospital, sitting in a small consultation room with harsh fluorescent lights and anatomical posters on the walls. My son, Liam, was in the pediatric ward getting tests. My husband, Jake, sat beside me, his hand gripping mine so tight it hurt. Dr. Patricia Reeves, a pediatric cardiologist, sat across from us with Liam's file open on her lap. "I'm not going to sugarcoat this," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Liam has a congenital heart defect called tetralogy of Fallot. It's rare, and it's serious." The words hit me like a freight train. What does that mean? It means 4 structural problems with his heart that are preventing proper blood flow. Without surgical intervention, Liam's condition will deteriorate rapidly. We're talking weeks, maybe a month or 2. Jake's voice cracked. "Can it be fixed?" "Yes, he needs open-heart surgery. It's complex, but Dr. Raymond Chen is one of the best pediatric cardiac surgeons in the country, and he's here in Denver. The success rate for this procedure is over 90% when performed by an experienced team." I felt tears streaming down my face. "When does he need the surgery?" "As soon as possible, ideally within the next 2 weeks." "We'll do it," Jake said immediately. "Whatever it costs, we'll do it." Dr. Reeves nodded. "I'll have our financial coordinator come speak with you about the costs and payment options." 20 minutes later, a woman named Linda from the hospital's billing department sat with us in the same small room. The surgery, hospital stay, anesthesia, post-operative care, and follow-up appointments will total approximately $185,000, she said, sliding a breakdown across the table. My heart sank. "We have insurance." "I've already reviewed your policy," Linda said sympathetically. "Your insurance will cover $110,000 after deductibles and copays. That leaves an out-of-pocket expense of $75,000. Jake and I looked at each other. We were both working-class people. I was a nurse making $62,000 a year. Jake was an electrician making $58,000. We had $8,000 in savings. Our mortgage, car payments, and student loans ate up most of our income. We didn't have $75,000. "What are our options?" I asked, my voice shaking. Linda went through the list. Payment plans, medical credit cards, fundraising, loans. But the surgery couldn't wait for a GoFundMe campaign to gain traction. We needed the money now. That evening, after we tucked Liam into his hospital bed and watched him fall asleep with his favorite stuffed dinosaur, Jake and I sat in the parking garage in our car. "We have to ask your parents," Jake said quietly. My stomach twisted. "They won't help." "Sarah, this is their grandson's life. They'll help." I wanted to believe him, but I knew my parents. I knew how they operated. "I just spent a fortune on Madison's wedding," I said. "Exactly. So they have money." I closed my eyes, dreading what I knew I had to do. I called my mother that night from the hospital parking lot. "Sarah, is everything okay?" Her voice was casual, distracted. I could hear the TV in the background. "Mom, I need to talk to you and Dad. It's about Liam." "What about him? Is he sick?" I told her everything. The diagnosis, the surgery, the timeline, the cost. There was a long silence. $75,000? My mother repeated. "Yes, we don't have it, Mom. We've looked at every option. We need help." Another pause. Sarah, that's a lot of money. I know, but it's Liam's life. He's your grandson. Let me talk to your father. I'll call you back. She hung up. Jake looked at me hopefully. What did she say? She's talking to Dad. We waited. 1 hour. 2 hours. Finally, at 10:47 p.m., my phone rang. It was my father. Sarah, your mother told me about Liam, he said, his voice formal, like we were discussing a business transaction. This is a difficult situation. Dad, I need your help, please. We don't have that kind of money just lying around, he said. My jaw dropped. You just spent $270,000 on Madison's wedding 3 months ago. That was different. How is it different? We'd been saving for Madison's wedding for years. That money was earmarked for a specific purpose. And my son's life isn't a specific enough purpose? My voice was rising. Don't take that tone with me, my father snapped. We have our own expenses. Your mother's knee surgery next month. Property taxes, your sister's student loans that we're still helping with. You're helping Madison with student loans, but you won't help save your grandson's life? This is why we didn't want you to have children so young. My mother's voice cut in. She'd picked up the extension. You weren't financially prepared. What they said next would haunt me forever. Liam is 4 years old, I said, my voice brought eking. We didn't know he'd have a heart defect. This isn't about planning. This is about a medical emergency. Life is full of emergencies, my father said. You need to figure this out on your own. We can't be your safety net every time something goes wrong. Every time? I repeated. I've never asked you for money. Not once. Not when Jake lost his job 2 years ago. Not when our car died. Not when we had to replace our roof. I've handled everything on my own. This is the first time, the only time I've ever asked for help. And we're telling you we can't, my mother said firmly. Our money is tied up. In what? Another wedding? Another vacation? We're not discussing our finances with you, my father interrupted. The answer is no, Sarah. You'll have to find another way. The line went dead. I sat there in the parking lot, phone in my hand, unable to process what had just happened. Jake stared at me, his face pale. They said no? I nodded, tears streaming down my face. They spent almost $300,000 on a wedding, Jake said, his voice rising with anger. A wedding with ice sculptures and a live orchestra and a designer dress, and they won't help save their grandson? I couldn't speak. I just cried. 3 months earlier, I'd watched my parents spare no expense for my younger sister Madison's wedding. Madison was 26, their golden child. She'd always been the favorite, the prettier one, the more social one, the one who made them proud. She'd married Trevor, a corporate lawyer from a wealthy family. The wedding had been at an exclusive resort in Aspen, 250 guests, a custom Vera Wang dress, a 12-piece orchestra, flowers flown in from Ecuador, an ice sculpture fountain, a 7-tier cake, an open bar with top-shelf everything. I'd been there, 8 months pregnant with my second child, wearing a $60 dress from Target because we couldn't afford anything else. I'd smiled and congratulated Madison and tried not to think about how different my own wedding had been. A simple ceremony at a local church with 40 guests and a potluck reception. During the reception, I'd overheard my mother talking to her friends. We wanted to give Madison the wedding of her dreams, she'd said, beaming. She deserves it. She worked so hard to find the right man. I'd felt a sharp sting hearing that. What did that mean? That I hadn't worked hard? That Jake wasn't the right man because he was an electrician instead of a lawyer? My father had given a toast about how proud he was of Madison, how she'd always made smart choices, how they'd always known she'd do well in life. He hadn't mentioned me once. Now, 3 months later, as I sat in that parking lot, I realized the truth I'd been avoiding my whole life. My parents had never loved us equally, and they never would. The next morning, Jake and I met with a loan officer at our bank. Based on your income and current debt load, we can approve you for a $30,000 personal loan at 11.9% interest, the officer said. $30,000. Not enough. We applied for medical credit cards. I was approved for $12,000. Jake got $8,000, still not enough. Jake called his parents in Michigan. They were retired and living on Social Security. They scraped together $5,000, everything they had in savings. My best friend from nursing school, Maria, started a GoFundMe. It raised $3,200 in 3 days. We were at $58,200. Still $1,600 short. Jake's brother offered to take out a loan against his car. That got us another $7,000. We were still $9,800 short, and Liam's surgery was scheduled for 5 days from now. I was at work in the hospital break room when my supervisor, Linda Chen, found me crying. "Sarah, what's wrong?" I told her everything. Linda was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I might be able to help. My husband and I have been saving for a kitchen remodel. It's $12,000. You can have it." I stared at her. "Linda, I can't." "Yes, you can. We'll redo the kitchen next year. Liam needs this surgery in." Ow. I broke down sobbing. "I'll pay you back. Every cent, I promise." "I know you will," she said, hugging me. "But right now, let's just focus on getting your son healthy." With Linda's help, we had enough. But my parents' rejection had left a wound that would never fully heal. Liam's surgery was scheduled for 6:00 a.m. on a Thursday. Jake and I arrived at the hospital at 4:30 a.m. Liam was groggy and scared, clutching his dinosaur. The pre-op nurses were gentle and kind, explaining everything in words a 4-year-old could understand. Dr. Chen came in to talk us through the procedure one last time. "It's going to take about 6 hours, he said. "We'll keep you updated every hour. Try not to worry. I've done this surgery hundreds of times." At 5:50 a.m., they wheeled Liam into the operating room. He looked so small on that gurney, his little hand waving at us. "Bye, Mommy. Bye, Daddy." I couldn't hold back the tears. Jake and I spent those 6 hours in the surgical waiting room. His parents had flown in from Michigan. Maria sat with us. Linda stopped by during her lunch break. My parents didn't call, didn't text, nothing. At 12:15 p.m., Dr. Chen walked into the waiting room, still in his scrubs. He was smiling. "The surgery was a complete success," he said. "Liam did beautifully. He's in recovery now. You can see him in about an hour." I collapsed into Jake's arms, sobbing with relief. When we finally saw Liam in the pediatric ICU, he was asleep, tubes and monitors attached to his small body. But his color was better. His breathing was stronger. "He's going to be okay," Jake whispered. I pulled out my phone and sent a text to my parents. "Liam's surgery was successful. He's in recovery. Thought you'd want to know." 3 hours later, my mother replied, "That's good news. Glad he's okay." That was it. No apology, no acknowledgement, no, "I'm sorry we couldn't help," just a thing. Over the next 6 months, I worked double shifts at the hospital. Jake took every overtime opportunity he could get. We paid back Linda first, $1,000 a month, until the full $12,000 was repaid. Then we tackled the loans, the credit cards, Jake's brother's car loan. It took us 18 months to pay off everything. 18 months of barely sleeping, of living on rice and beans, of not buying new clothes or taking vacations or doing anything that wasn't essential. But we did it. And through it all, my parents never once asked how we were managing, never offered to help with the payments, never acknowledged what they'd done or failed to do. Madison, meanwhile, posted photos from her honeymoon in Bora Bora, her anniversary trip to Paris, her new luxury SUV that our parents helped her buy. Every post felt like a knife. 8 months after Liam's surgery, my parents invited us to Thanksgiving. I didn't want to go, but Jake convinced me. "They're still your parents," he said, "and Liam should know his grandparents." So we drove to Boulder, where my parents lived in their 4-bedroom house with the pool and the manicured lawn and the 3-car garage. Madison and Trevor were already there, along with their newborn daughter. My mother fawned over Madison's baby. "Oh, she's perfect. Look at those little fingers." She barely acknowledged Liam, who was running around healthy and energetic, his surgery scar hidden beneath his shirt. During dinner, my father talked about the new car he'd bought, a Tesla Model X. "We figured it was time to upgrade," he said proudly. I stared at him. "You bought a new car? Well, your mother deserves something nice." Something nice. A $95,000 car. Meanwhile, Jake and I were still driving our 12-year-old Honda with 180,000 miles on it. After dinner, I cornered my mother in the kitchen. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "What is it, Sarah?" "Why didn't you help us with Liam's surgery?" She stiffened. "We already discussed this." "No, you dismissed it. I want to understand. You spent $270,000 on Madison's wedding. Dad just bought a $95,000 car, but you couldn't spare $75,000 to save your grandson's life. That's not fair. What's not fair is watching you pour money into Madison while Jake and I have struggled our entire marriage. What's not fair is knowing that if Madison's child needed surgery, you'd pay for it in a heartbeat." My mother's face hardened. "Madison made better life choices." The words hung in the air like poison. "Better choices," I repeated softly. "She married well. She planned her life. She didn't rush into having children before she was ready." "I was 25 when I had Liam," I said, my voice shaking. "That's not rushing. And Jake is a good man. He works hard. He's a great father. He's an electrician, Sarah." And there it was, the truth I'd always known but never heard spoken so plainly. Jake wasn't a lawyer. He didn't come from money. He wore work boots instead of suits. And that meant, in my parents' eyes, that our family was worth less. What I did next would change our relationship forever. "Get out of my way," I said to my mother, my voice cold and calm. I walked back to the dining room where everyone was finishing dessert. "Jake, we're leaving," I said. He looked up, confused. "Now?" "Now." I picked up Liam, who protested that he hadn't finished his pie. "We'll get pie at home," I told him. My father stood up. "Sarah, what's going on?" "What's going on is that I finally understand how you see us, how you've always seen us." "Sarah," my mother started. "No, I'm done. I'm done pretending this is a normal family. I'm done watching you treat Madison like a princess and us like an embarrassment. I'm done acting like it doesn't hurt." Madison's face flushed. "Sarah, don't make a scene." "A scene?" I laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about scenes? How about the scene 8 months ago when I called begging for help to save my son's life and was told your wedding money was more important?" A room went silent. Trevor shifted uncomfortably. Madison stared at her plate. "That's not what we said," my father said. "It's exactly what you said. You spent $270,000 on a party, but you couldn't spare $75,000 to save Liam. Do you know what that told me? That my son's life is worth less than ice sculptures and designer flowers." "We didn't have liquid cash," my father started. "You bought a $95,000 car 6 months later," I shouted. "You just told me you bought it because Mom deserves something nice. But your grandson didn't deserve to live." My mother was crying now. "You're being cruel." "I'm being honest. There's a difference." I looked at Madison. "Did you know? When you were planning your wedding, spending their money on every luxury you could think of, did you know they wouldn't help when it mattered?" Madison looked away. "I thought so," I said. "We're leaving," I said again, "and we won't be back." "Sarah, please," my mother begged, "don't do this. You did this 8 months ago when you chose money over family. I'm just finally accepting the truth." Jake stood up, carrying our coats. He didn't say a word to my parents, but the look he gave them could have frozen fire. As we walked to the car, my father followed us out. "Sarah, wait." I turned. "We love you," he said. "We love Liam." "No, you don't," I said quietly. "You love the idea of us, but actual love requires sacrifice, and you've never been willing to sacrifice anything for us." "That's not true. When's the last time you helped us with anything? When's the last time you visited Liam in the hospital during his recovery? When's the last time you asked how we're doing financially? You haven't, because you don't actually care." He had no answer. We drove home in silence. Liam fell asleep in his car seat. Jake reached over and took my hand. "I'm proud of you," he said. "For what?" for finally standing up to them. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. It felt like freedom and loss all at once. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Madison. "Sarah, we need to talk." "I don't think we do." "Mom's been crying every day since Thanksgiving. Dad's miserable. You can't just cut them out like this." "Watch me. They're our parents." "They're your parents," I interrupted. "They stopped being mine when they valued your wedding over my son's life." "That's not fair," Madison said, but her voice wavered. "Tell me something, Madison. Did it ever bother you, knowing how much they spent on your wedding while Jake and I were struggling?" Silence. "Did you ever think maybe I should have a smaller wedding so they can help Sarah? Maybe I don't need the ice fountain or the designer dress." "That's not my responsibility." "You're right, it's not. But it says a lot about who you are that it never even crossed your mind." Madison was quiet for a long moment. "I didn't know about Liam's surgery until after it happened. Would it have mattered? I don't know." That's what I thought. I hung up. 6 months after that Thanksgiving, I got a call from my father. "Sarah, I need to ask you something." His voice sounded different, smaller, scared. "What is it?" "Your mother needs surgery, a knee replacement. It's going to cost $45,000 out of pocket after insurance." I felt my heart stop. "We don't have the money," he continued. "We've had some financial setbacks. The market hasn't been good, and we've been helping Madison and Trevor with their mortgage." "You're calling to ask me for money," I said flatly. "Not money, just maybe a loan, or you could talk to that friend who helped you with Liam's surgery?" I laughed, a cold, bitter laugh. "You're serious." "Sarah, your mother is in pain. She can barely walk. And you want me to help you after you refused to help save your grandson's life." "That was different." "How?" I demanded. "How is this different? Mom's knee isn't life-threatening. Liam's shirt defect was. If anything, I have less reason to help you." "Please, Sarah, we're family. You told me I needed to figure things out on my own," I said, my voice steady. "So now it's your turn. Figure it out." "Sarah, do you know what we did to pay for Liam's surgery? I worked 70-hour weeks for 18 months. Jake took every overtime shift he could get. We ate rice and beans for dinner. We didn't buy new clothes. We didn't go on vacation. We sacrificed everything. We can't do that at our age." "Then sell the Tesla. Downsize the house. Ask Madison to pay you back some of the money you've given her. Those are your options." "You're being heartless." "No, Dad. I'm being exactly as heartless as you were when my 4-year-old son needed surgery and you said your money was tied up." I hung up. And for the first time in my life, I felt no guilt. I never heard from my father again about the surgery. Through Madison, I learned they'd taken out a home equity loan. My mother got her knee replacement. They had to sell the Tesla and downsize to a smaller house. Madison and Trevor's marriage hit rough waters when he lost his job. My parents couldn't afford to help them anymore. The cracks in their perfect life started showing. As for me, Liam turned 7 last month. He's healthy, energetic, and has no memory of his surgery. His scar is just a thin line on his chest that he'll carry for the rest of his life, a reminder of what we survived. Jake got promoted to a supervisor position. I'm now a charge nurse. We're not wealthy, but we're stable. We bought a modest 3-bedroom house. We take camping trips in the summer. We're happy. And we did it all without my parents' help. Looking back, the day my parents refused to help save Liam's life was the day I finally saw them clearly. For years, I'd made excuses for their favoritism. I'd told myself it wasn't that bad, that all families had their dynamics, that I was just being sensitive. But when your child's life is on thud, a line and your parents choose luxury over love, you can't pretend anymore. I learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about showing up when it matters. It's about sacrifice. It's about choosing people over things. My parents chose wrong, and I chose to walk away. Do I regret it? No. Because the truth is, cutting them out of my life didn't make me poorer. It made me richer. Richer in peace, richer in self-respect, richer in the knowledge that my son is surrounded by people who truly love him, even if his grandparents aren't among them. Some people will say I should forgive them, that I should give them another chance. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean allowing people who hurt you to keep hurting you. It means releasing the anger so it doesn't poison your future. And I've done that. My parents made their choice. I made mine. And I'm finally at peace with it. So let me ask you, if your parents refused to help save your child's life but spent a fortune on your sibling's wedding, could you ever forgive them? What would you do? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Because standing up for your children, even against your own parents, is never easy, but it's always worth it.